welcome to episode 82 of Talking Small Press Comics with Steve Keeter and me, Larned Justin. And we have a special guest today, Tom Fellrath. And speaking of that, Tom is going to have a special announcement kind of at the end of his interview that you definitely want to stay tuned for. This is a major announcement, and I know you don't want to miss it. So make sure you stay tuned for that. So how are you doing, Tom?
Doing great, guys. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah,
welcome back.
It was episode 17 that you were in. That's 2 years ago.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
It's more like
And you're on what,
2.5
82 now?
82.
Good
Yeah.
Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
So that was
way
2
earlier
years
than
ago.
82. So it's been 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So I know, things have changed quite a bit in the 2 years for you. You've been quite busy.
Little bit.
Yeah.
Little bit,
The
yeah.
thing is, we were at that time we were congratulating you on coming back. You've been out of small press for like 30 years, and all of a sudden, we knew each other back in the 80s. You were most, I think, prominently active in like 87 and 88, and all of a sudden you popped back up, and it was great. It was great because you didn't just come back into small press, you came back with a vengeance. And you've been doing a lot of great stuff over the last 3 years or so. And so, yeah, we want to talk to you about that. You just kind of outdid us all.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I'd have to do a heck of a lot to cover your tracks.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe people don't know, but Tom has a YouTube show, so I'd like you to talk a little bit about that. Fanzine Live is Tom's YouTube show.
Sure.
And tell us, some people may not know about it, so this is a good chance to kind of advertise it a little bit.
Oh, wow.
Go ahead and talk a little bit about what you do there and what it's all about.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Yeah, Fanzine Live is something that came out of, well, I used to be a devoted watcher of the Cartoonist Kayfabe YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And with the unfortunate passing of Ed Pisker, and then Jim Rugg deciding not to continue it without him, that there was kind of a loss, not just of Pisker, who, the guy was a tremendous talent, and he is being missed.
Great cartoonist.
But yeah, very much.
Yeah.
But there also was a loss of the content and the community around that, of the dialogue, the discussion of let's talk about comics and about cartooning and about the work that we do. And of course, I just thought to myself, you know what? I bet I could help try to fill a little of that gap. I didn't go to Joe Kubert's school. I don't know how to cartoon my way out of a paper bag, but I can talk about comics. And more interestingly, I thought my perspective is really more of a older school because, like you were saying, Steve, 30 years out. And then you come back in. And so my whole perspective is about small press comics making from about 30 odd years ago. And so I thought that might be interesting. And if you look right behind me, you see all those brown boxes?
Yeah.
Well, that's my library of small press comics. And so, well, I actually have some under my desk too now. But I was thinking, wouldn't it be cool to do videos about the stuff that I had from way back when? And then also, of course, you got your newer stuff. And, I'm shameless. I've got my own zine, so I thought I'd try to promote a few of those. And so I kind of create a rotation, a weekly rotation I do a new zine, I do an old zine, I do one of my zines. And then it's kind of blown up and become a little more than that. But yeah, and I mean, you guys are so good at talking about comics, and you've got such depth of perspective that I can't dream of having. So I thought, you know, well, what I'll do is I'll just do like a short
around a long time. We're old guys. We've been around a long time in the small press.
Hey, I've got some gray as well, gentlemen.
Yeah, a little bit of gray. I dye mine, so you can't see it, you know, so much. I dyed the mustache.
Well, my wife wants me to.
Mine is actually blonde, and they look white. Actually,
Larned looks great. Larned looks great. He doesn't have to dye. He just looks so darn young, and I'm totally envious of him.
But yeah, so that's basically kind of how it's gone. And my thought was I would try to keep them sort of short-ish. Mm-hmm. I try to keep the videos to about, if I'm on track, I go for under 10 minutes, you know, so it's enough time for somebody to tune in, watch a little bit, get enough of the information, and move on with their day. And then, of course, with the new releases and with my stuff, and now I also am doing crowdfunded books and some stuff I call world zines from around the world. I try to put ordering information in. Yeah. And so, because I really think that's important.
Oh,
that
it is. Yeah.
Connecting people.
Everybody
with the
wants
zines.
to know where to get the comic that you just reviewed. Where do you get that? You know.
Yeah.
Put that in there.
Yeah. Well, and it used to be Small Press Comics Explosion.
Yeah.
And hello, everyone. It's Tom. It's Fanzine Live, and this is the Classic Zines video. Last time, I did a look at the Small Press Comics Explosion. Excuse me. I did a look at Hype Comics by Bob Wayne Kozlowski, and he mentioned how he discovered Small Press Comics Explosion. Well, guess what? I have copies of Small Press Comics Explosion going back quite a bit, and I believe that this may have been my first, no, this was my second issue of Small Press Comics Explosion, and I thought I would share it with you. SPCE, as we call it, Small Press Comics Explosion, this was the magazine that started a whole revolution of people like Bob Wayne Kozlowski, like me, if you will, in the world of small press comics.
Don't have that anymore.
And in fact, did I post? I'm looking at my video list.
You did one on that.
Well, I did one on SPCE. The one on Bubbles. Did that come out? Yeah, it did.
I've seen it.
It just came out. And in that, I kind of was suggesting that between that and like the Comics Blogger, I think is another one, that there are like these pretty good but very regional publications. And so it used to be with SPCE going out through comic shops all across the country that, you know, you get one of those newspapers and you're set for the month.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got so much stuff that you could look at. Yeah. And so now you kind of have to go here, you have to go there. And I was thinking, well, maybe in this video age that we live in, I mean, I'm never going to be as a Corrigan. Heck, I'm never going to be a Larned or a Steve. But I might be able to contribute a little and be a place that people can, you know, get a little information, learn about a zine, perhaps have it tickle their fancy, and they go off and order it. That'd be neat.
Well, I tell you, I look at it anytime you post. So to me, it's great. So the question I have, though, were you going to say something, Steve? Go ahead.
Go ahead, Larned. You're first. You're the oldest, so I respect you.
I think. No, I was going to say, Steve and I rely on people to send us their comics because he's in Florida and I'm in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Now, so we're kind of dependent on that. But where do you get yours? You look like you're buying them, and is that what you're doing? I don't think anybody's sending you, are they?
Yeah, some of them are.
Some of them are? Okay.
Some of them are. I mean, well, first off, there's the United Fanzine Organization. And,
Right.
you know, all the UFO members, I'm in the co-op, and so I send them my stuff, they send me their stuff. So right there's a fair bit of material.
Right.
But I have had a few people send me things. Here, great example. There was a gentleman, there is a gentleman in Arizona named Jim Cheff. And I've reviewed these this week, and so it'll probably show up in a week or two. And he does these children's zines. I mean, like little kids, like, you know, bedtime reading type things.
Yeah.
Just a remarkably brilliant concept. Make these little fairy tale type zines done on like almost a cardboard type stock, like a heavy card stock. So the kids can't, you know, they can't crush them, and the like, but they can get more than one reading out of them. Pretty colors, simple artwork, and they're cute, and I love them. Jim found me and he said, "Hey, can I send you something?" And I said, "Absolutely." So that's his second batch that he sent me. So I have a few people like that, but most of them, I have a problem, and I purchased too many.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi. My name is Tom, and I buy too many zines.
Yeah, but you know what you do? What we do is, you know, if we wait until a number of people send us their zines, and then we do a show, and you know, and we review their zines. We promote their zines. We don't actually review. You know, I mean, we kind of review, but we put the best, you know, the best impetus on, you know, whatever we get. You know, we try to promote and encourage people to make small press comics. But what you do, and on Fanzine Live, and it's kind of fascinating. It's kind of fascinating. And I can't believe the output over the last couple of years since you started that channel. You're putting out a lot of videos, and every week, like two or three times a week, you're going over these zines in detail. You know, you go page by page.
Yeah,
and,
he does.
Yeah,
but I only do one.
A lot of detail.
You do one main one, yeah.
One per episode. And how many
more or less,
episodes?
yeah. Yeah, and I think, you see, this is, now we're getting into the stuff we were talking about before you jumped on, Steve. Larned and I were talking about this, how I can't and don't want to try to replace, like, the work that you guys do. You guys have so much that you can discuss about the work and the like. Me, I don't have the background. All I have is the paper.
Yeah.
And so I'll talk about what's on the paper.
Yeah.
You know, somebody has asked me before, like, you know, hey, can I do an interview on your show? And I'm like, no, I don't know what to ask you. So, I mean, you want to go get an interview? Talk to Larned and Steve. They're good at that. They do that stuff. No, the closest, now this is interesting. The closest I've come, though, to doing an interview, I've got a handful of videos up there called First Person. And that's kind of cool, where I'm able to get the creator of a zine to, using the same format, that kind of top-down video camera, open up the zine over the table and look at it. And I have them talk about their zine. And so that's the closest I'll come to an interview. But I do not introduce them. I do not talk to them. I say, 10 minutes, all yours, talk about your zine. Go through it and share what you want. I did this. I've done this. Do you guys know Michael Nino?
Oh yeah.
I know
Yeah.
about him. Yeah, I know him very
Yeah.
well.
He has a monthly get together here in Columbus, Ohio, at one of the restaurants, and all the cartoonists get together and have fun. I dragged one of them aside, and he did a video with me in the restaurant. And then when I went out to SPX in Washington, D.C., I lined up a couple people in advance and said, hey, you know, if you're going to be exhibiting and you got 5 minutes of free time, you know, come step out into the coffee lounge, or I guess in this case we were out on the patio, and you know, talk about your zine. And so these guys, well, one was a lady, one was a gentleman. They did it. At CXC, there was another guy who's associated with the Koosh series out of Latvia, but he's out of, I think, Houston. And he was up for the show, and I said, you want to talk about something? Yeah. So he did it as well. So we did a study room at the Columbus Public Library. But this little rig I've got with, like, you know, it's got a little boom camera thing and a little wireless mic, and my background that you see is just, well, here, I'll show you. It's, okay. I mean, it's a round mat.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I've always wondered what that was.
Yeah, so I just lay that out. I mean,
did you have that made or what?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, it's a custom-made Pokemon playing mat size. And I just had my image put over the top, and it works great.
Strange times.
Yes, we live in them.
Yes, and so do you.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Strange
that
times.
is one heck of a publication.
And this
that's
particular
awesome.
issue is one of the finest things I've ever seen in my life in a small press. We reviewed this I think it was in our last episode, but the Keith Newsom issue. And how did you become acquainted with Keith? Because Keith is an unbelievable talent, and this is a great zine. I mean, obviously a lot of work went into this. What can I tell you? It's just a great. It details his entire creative life. He's a musician. He's a painter. He is an artist, a comic book artist, and he's so talented. How did you become associated with Keith? Now we met him at Space a couple of years ago. Lauren and I did. But man, this guy, his talents. He's a poet.
He's amazing.
He does a lot of some strange stuff, and
yeah. Look at that.
Well, I mean,
this guy.
The thing. Wow. Okay, I met him. There we go. I met him also at Space in 22, maybe. And he said that I was the only person at the entire show to say hello and try to engage him in what we were doing. It was my first and only Space show. I'm frustrated I can't get back. My schedules are just... but it was my first and only show. Bob Corby, I didn't know the way it all works, and so I registered late. So Bob put me out on the back 40. I mean, if you look at my pictures from that particular show, you'll see all these tables that are empty behind me because he had them set up in case he had last-minute additions. But, you know, we were out on the fringe.
Oh, yeah.
And I was with my daughter, and I'm trying to put on a good face for her. And I said, the way we're going to do this, we're going to work it. We're going to sell like crazy. And she, of course, you know, first time ever cartoonist, and she sells out in the first day. and you know, and she's letting me hear it for the rest of the show.
Yeah.
Well, I sold out, Dad. How did you do?
Oh my God.
Well, I remember you posting that on YouTube or Facebook or somewhere, but I remember you posting that.
Yeah. She still won't let me live it down.
Hmm.
So anyway, so Keith is going around checking out the show, and I'm talking to him about it, and you know, he's like, "This looks really interesting." So he buys a couple of my zines, and then within like 24 hours, he sends me some pinups. Here. He sent me this.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Which I used as the back of Heroes Now #2.
Okay.
And I'm like, who are you? and so, oh my gosh, he's so good.
Yeah.
He's so good. And so out of that, we started having a dialogue, a conversation, you know, a friendship form. Now he's on the south side of town, I'm on the north side of town, but we then had an issue of Strange Times come up, and of course, keeping in mind, you know, he's a good artist. So is this guy.
Oh,
this is Larned. This is Larned piece. This is not Larned, but this is Larned's work. Actually, wait a minute. Give me that squint. That might be you.
That looks like Larned to me.
Yeah.
Looks like Larned like 30 years from now, not right now.
Well, that's when I was out on the street for a while.
There you go. There you go. You just got to get that squint down.
Yeah.
So anyway,
great art.
So yeah, so Keith says, you know, if you ever want to, you know, have me work on a comic, let me know. And so this came up, and I said, you know, we're doing this thing. It's called Strange Times. We're going to try to do a theme to it. And I said, you know, we're talking about who you are, you know, the person behind the pen and that type of stuff, and trying to get rid of the stereotypes and the like. And he sends me this whole section about his son and the artwork he's drawing on his iPad while he is sitting in the waiting room waiting for his son, who's dealing with just a tremendous brain tumor. I mean, just
that was very sad. Very sad.
Oh, it's I mean,
really,
it's traumatic, but the way in which he and his son have handled it is so incredibly inspiring. And so I wanted to share that story. Yeah. And so, of course, he jumps in. And he did a great job. And then in the
guy, he can share like his emotions. I mean, like whatever's going on in his life, he presents it on the printed page, and you can just feel it. You can feel the emotion, the sadness, or whatever. He just does a fantastic job. He knows how to convey emotion.
But it's not just the sadness; it's the resilience. That's the thing that gets me about Keith. He does not wilt. He does not shrink. And I mean, then we go to the next big issue. I mean, we had the Matt Levin issue in between, but then in this issue, The Road Back, Strange Times 4, he did another section talking about how he has overcome personal tragedy and the like. And I mean, it goes even further. And I mean, the stuff he has endured and worked through is amazing. So, okay, so now I've got stuff in Heroes Now. I've got 2 issues of Strange Times, and it's like, dude, you've got a story and a half. I want to tell it.
Yeah.
And so that's then how Strange Times 6 came around.
Yeah, that was great.
And it's currently the finest.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Steve.
I'm gonna say it's a fine zine. It's something I treasure this zine. It's one of the best things I've seen in a long time. Yeah. It's quite emotional. It's beautiful. It's beautifully printed, it's beautifully written, it's beautifully drawn, and just a great zine. So that's from Tom.
Well, actually, that's largely Keith. All I did was lay it out.
Yeah, well,
I laid it out. I published it.
Yeah.
In minor edits.
Hmm.
He wrote everything except for the introduction that I did.
Are you
It's all
working on a
Keith.
new
Yeah.
Strange Times? That's what I was wondering. Are you working on a new one?
I should. I've got an idea for what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not actively working on it right now. I guess if I'm going in the cycle of do a profile, do an anthology, do a profile, do an anthology, I should be doing another anthology. And I've got an idea actually for an anthology, but I haven't gotten around to launching it. So maybe. And then the other one I want to do, I've seen some really neat stuff come across my desk of individuals doing their own thing. And I kind of sort of like doing like a first person comic strip anthology of their own. Like Larned, if you or Steve, if you guys each just, did little cartoons about yourself and things about your life and, maybe a 4-pager on this topic and a 2-pager on that.
There is an awful lot of that out there.
There is. And
the girl cartoonists or the women cartoonists do that. I've noticed that they do that quite a bit. They tell their own story, everyday life, whether it's mundane or it's not or whatever. They just There's actually one out that I'm reading. I think I left it upstairs. It's actually a collection of strips. It's a book called Long Boxes, and it's about a guy he is a cartoonist and he's writing about himself. And it's his reflections and vignettes and stories about the work of being a comics reseller on eBay and how he goes to flea markets and comic shops and the like, and the people he runs into, and how he grades them, and it's all done kind of tongue-in-cheek, kind of funny. But then he starts getting into some really deep stuff about, like, wait a minute, am I only doing this to pay my fees to eBay? And, he's got all of this stuff that he's got pent up and he wants to share. And in a weird way, I'd like to try to do one of those. I'm not about reselling comics. Clearly, you see, I have a problem with reselling. I have no problem with acquiring. But I'd love to try to do that, and I put about 5 or 10 pages together. It's just, if I did it, I would want it to be a lot meatier than just a 10-pager. So I don't know, and then we might do another anthology. Yeah.
But there's this thing. It's called Fanzine Live. It takes so much time. It's an excuse to open up the boxes, pull out an old zine, read it, appreciate it, and then share that appreciation. I mean, that's all it is.
Yeah. Just works great. Yep.
And I won't lie, I'm not going to share every single one, because there are some. I mean, we could do like a really nasty top 10 list of zines that never should have seen the light of day. But
the only
ones that I do
with that was Tim Corrigan. If you remember, he would tell it like it was about comics. He never held back. If it was a
he was gentle. He was gentle on the ones that weren't great. He would always say, he'd find a nugget and say, "There's room for improvement off of this."
Yeah. Now, how about we haven't talked about Hologram and Heroes Now and
Okay.
and a number of other things you're doing.
Yeah. Hologram.
Yeah, hologram. Tell us a little bit
Hologram
about that.
has a
Probably got
12-issue arc, story arc.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And of
Got
course,
those.
There you
yeah, I mean, those are mini comics.
Yeah.
Now, you don't have the 10th issue. The 10th
Yes,
issue
I
just
do.
came out, and
Don't I have
I'm
you had one where you reprinted all the earlier issues. Is that the one?
no. Here. Well, okay, this is a test issue. First off, Hologram had one artist, William Cadell, who was great. He did like the first half of the arc, so he did like the first 6, 7 issues. Then I drew a few, and I was kind of messing around with Midjourney AI for background, and then I would like insert the characters in with my stuff, and then I'd digitally insert, like that. Like
This is your art.
yeah. So that's my art over a Midjourney AI fake photo. It was fun, but I had two things happen at the same time. First, believe it or not, this thing actually is going to come to a climax, and it's going to have less reliance on backgrounds and more reliance on good character drawing.
Can you tell the viewers an overview of what the story is about?
Got it.
A lot of people would not know what we're talking about.
Got it. The story is of a guy named Joe Peters, I believe his name is. He was a scientist, and of course, like any good superhero origin story, there was a lab accident. He got hit with this beam, and he was turned into... He was made transparent, like a hologram. So he can go through walls, he can fly, he can do all sorts of stuff. And he also shoots lasers as well. But, you can see he's there flying over the Great Pyramid of Giza right there. Or that one, the other one there is popping out of the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem. And I said that the locals probably didn't take kindly to that one.
I guess not.
Yeah, But that actually brings up part of the thing. It's a character study. It's a character study of a guy who's been given crazy amounts of powers and is still a normal person trying to be a normal person. And he's got a stupid sense of humor. And he's got a wife who's having a hard time dealing with all of this. And he is finding himself getting further and further into more fantastic situations. I mean, he goes out past Mars and blows up an asteroid to save the world. And then what does he do when he comes home? He goes on the news. Look at me, I saved the world. Because he doesn't know what else to do. He's a bit of a putz.
How many issues have you done so far?
We are up to 10. And the first story wraps up at 12. And so for these last few issues, I was getting less and less comfortable drawing. But, of course, wouldn't you know, Tony Lorenz sends me a note and says, Tom, I'm bored. Do you have anything for me?
Oh, man. How could
and
he
I
be
said,
bored? A million things.
And I'm like, Tony, all I got is this mini comic. Do you want to do that? I mean, it's just single pages. And he goes, yeah, give it to me. Yeah. And so now he's going to do the last three issues. So this is a mock-up that I ended up not using for issue 10. And if you notice, there's a bit of a glare on it. That is because it is a plastic sheet. And so Tony, this is actually done from his heavy pencils. We were messing around with formats and that type of stuff, but Tony's doing it now, and he's knocking it out of the park. He's so good.
He's good.
So he's going to bring it home for me to at least issue 12, and then we'll see what happens.
Cover price on that?
It's always 50. Well, no, it's not always 50 cents, but it is 50 cents on that one.
Okay.
And a stamp, which is more than 50 cents.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Very cool. And Heroes Now is another one.
Heroes Now is another one. Heroes Now has been kind of on hiatus for a while.
Is it?
That is, Hologram was one of my original superheroes back when I was a teenager.
Oh,
I created that actually. Yep. I created Hologram for Tim Corrigan's Kablam #1.
Oh. Okay.
And Scott McClung drew it, I think. Yeah. He drew that one. And it was great. But anyway, I had other heroes that I did stuff with, especially with Matt Kanarakis out in Massachusetts. We had The Light, and I worked with Donald Tenney on Patriot. And Dale Martin was the inker on that.
Oh, really?
Accelerator was Scott McClung. I'm sorry?
Dale Martin was the inker. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here it is. I'll
Kinda
give you
surprising.
some.
We just had Dale Martin on for an interview.
Yeah,
Dale Martin did these inks.
Okay, that's the
Wow.
Patriot, right?
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
He did these inks. And we intentionally wanted it to be kind of a dark thing,
Yeah.
because it's kind of a anti-hero type of story. And so
Yeah.
we wanted to do that. So Dale did that. But anyway, so I had all these heroes, and I did the Heroes Past, which collected all of the stories from the 80s, including some unpublished stuff.
We have
Yeah.
that one. Yeah.
And then, go ahead.
I got that one right here. Very nice.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you. And that's Anthony Gray on the back. He drew The Light. Yeah. That was so much fun to put together. It's amazing it happened because I had no idea how to use the software to make it look that nice. Seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, everything's been a learning process. But anyway, so what's happened is I took all those old stories, and then with Heroes Now, I have started to use those characters and tell more modern stories of what's happening with them. There is an issue that is what would that be, 5? Yeah, issue 5 is 90% done. I am waiting on finished art for 1 story, and then I probably have to tighten up a couple things text-wise from me. It could happen at any time.
Okay.
One thing I think you guys probably...
Hey, we will be looking for it.
One thing you can appreciate is when you're in a hobby like this... Oh, I was going to say, when you're in a hobby like this, you don't want to push people. They're doing it because they love it, and I want them to continue loving it, and I want them to continue, feeling good about doing stuff with me. And so, I mean, if it takes longer, that's fine. I got other stuff to do. I got these videos to make.
Small press. You don't have an editor pushing you. You don't have anybody to answer to except yourself. That's why we love small press.
Right.
Yeah, unless you do these anthologies, and then you got somebody trying to, herd all the cats, and that's
Do it because you want to, because you have to.
Yeah, exactly. We kind of promised the folks a special announcement.
Oh yeah, we got a special announcement coming.
We want to make sure we get that in here. So
Okay.
I'm going to let you go ahead, Tom, and you explain well, this is exciting. Just tell people about it. Go ahead.
All right. So what's happened, folks, is I became friends, reacquainted, I guess you would say. We were always kind of like in a 6 or 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon type of way friends with each other, but we never really quite directly worked together with each other. With Steve Willis, friend of your show, friend of you guys.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
We love Steve Willis.
And Steve and I have been corresponding, and he is an old school correspondent. The only other person I've had that relationship with since getting back into comics, well, no, two others. Chuck Haspel, he's offline. You won't find him, but he does write to me. And the late Larry Blake. Larry Blake sent me. He would send me some impressive mail. But
Yeah.
By the way, I'm in touch with Chuck Haspel. I'm in touch. He's going to be doing something for the new mantra that I have planned.
Ooh, really?
Oh,
Awesome.
Yeah, Chuck Haspel.
That's great.
Chuck is back.
Oh, baby, that's great, Steve. That's wonderful. Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. Okay, so Steve Willis and I have been corresponding, and once he kind of said, you know, I think I sent him something for trade, and he said, I really like it. I go, oh, well, if you like it, I sent him a whole box of everything I've done since getting back into the scene, and he writes back and sends me a copy of every issue of Cranium Frenzy that's in print.
Oh my God.
And so I've got this stack of Cranium Frenzies that are like this thick.
Wow.
And I read it in a batch. And it was,
You read the entire 40 issues?
it wasn't 40, it was like 25 that he had in print.
Oh, okay.
But
you read them
still,
all in 25 issues.
all in one sitting.
Oh.
And
Wow.
and my brain is exploding.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, this guy
I-
goes places you can't even imagine
no.
with his work. And he does it, and he makes you smile while doing it, and he's just incredible. So I send him a thing, and I say,
Absolutely.
Steve, this stuff is great. I said, you've got to be, you know, he said, well, I started it back in, like, what, 88 or something like that. I started Cranium Frenzy back in 88, I think he said. And I've done it off and on since then, and I'm up to about issue 40 now. And
It looks like 1981.
81, thank you.
Yeah.
81.
And so
Girl,
he says, you know, he doesn't think about his work, or if he does, he won't admit to it, in like the long view. He thinks about the next comic.
Mm-hmm.
And once that comic's done, he thinks about the next comic.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have that larger sense,
Overview.
or at least he hasn't shared it with me.
Yeah.
And so I said, Steve, you got to collect these things. You gotta do something with this. You got 40 issues. Go to Seattle. Talk to Fantagraphics. See if they'll print it. And he's like, oh, Fantagraphics. He says, they've already printed my stuff in these books.
I had no idea. Wow.
Yeah, he's got New Wave, Underground Comics, Mini Comics of the 80s, Treasury of Mini Comics, Volumes 1 and 2. He's in these things, but they're just little pieces.
Oh.
They're little anthologies. I mean, well, they're big anthologies, but they're little segments on him. And so, I said, Steve, you really need to talk to someone. I'm like, there's a hardcover reprint of Dishman by John McLeod back in the 80s. Fantastic series.
I love that series.
The Mundane Adventures of Dishman. Gorgeous hardcover.
Wow.
All 12 issues.
The hardcover, though.
Absolutely gorgeous. And I'm like,
Absolutely.
we got to talk to this publisher. I can help you get in there. I'll do what it takes. And he's like, oh, I don't know. And he says, well, somebody once did a collection of some of my stuff. Michael Dowers, maybe? He said, he did some stuff. He did some of my books. Okay. And I said, cool. Can you go back to him? I don't know. So I said, look, Steve, you got to get somebody to collect Cranium Frenzy. And he's like, I'm like, okay, if you're not going to go find somebody, give it to me and I'll do it. And he's like, okay.
Oh,
and
boy.
so, that's the first 11 issues.
Wow.
I got masters. He has sent me the masters for all of his Cranium Frenzies.
Oh,
and
my
so, and so sometime this year, I'll make that commitment. I can't go any further than when it's going to happen. We're going to release collected editions, and it's probably going to be multiple because there are 40 issues of it. Yeah. We're going to do collected editions of Cranium Frenzy. Okay, so what you've got there, guys, what you've got there, guys, is a reprint, a scanned reprint of Cranium Frenzy #1. And there were a couple things we wanted to figure out. First off, I think he said 6 out of the first 7 issues were done in half legal size.
Okay.
Rather than half letter.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
If my technology, because I'm just using off-the-shelf stuff,
Yeah.
whether or not my technology would be good enough to blow stuff up from his only masters that he gave me are half letter, and we wanted to see if it could blow up to half legal and look okay.
I looked over this because I know you said you're either going to do it half legal or digest size.
Yep.
And I think the half legal is working. Even with, I think that is the way to go because he puts, especially this early issue, there's a lot of detail in here.
Yeah.
And I think if you make it too small, it would be harder to read. There's a couple things in here where I see an edge or something that didn't take, but nothing major.
Well, my real issue was whether or not the scans, because you're blowing something up, you're enlarging it, whether it would be too pixelated.
It's not.
And I put my scanner on as high a resolution as possible, and I think it worked.
I think it did too.
Steve likes it. We're doing half legal.
What do you think about the half legal a little better? Yeah,
Steve liked that. That's what we're going to do. But yeah, we're going to do every single issue. So this first one is called a proof of concept, just because we didn't know whether or not it was going to work. He sent me all 40 masters, not knowing if it was going to work. The guy's great. And so what we are going to do with that issue that you've got in front of you, for my friends within the United Fanzine organization, they're going to get a hard copy. Because in the UFO, we do hard copy zines, and we love them. However, the project does not lend itself to me sending out individual issues and the like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that proof of concept edition and I'm going to put it on my digital download page, and you will be able, when I announce, to download a copy on a PDF format that you can read on your tablet or your computer or whatever. Print out your own copy. I don't care. And you'll be able to do that, and it will be for free. We're gonna put the 1981 copy of Cranium Frenzy #1 out there for free.
And it is one of the wildest things you will ever read.
Yes.
Yeah, it's insane.
His artwork,
Insane, and it's
you can
brilliant.
see what it's, we know what he does now, and you can see what he started with when 81. I don't know how old he was in 81. He was a kid. But he has this artwork, and you can see it's a little rougher in this book, and in his later issues, you can see how it developed. It's amazing. And his imagination is unparalleled, really.
There are precious few cartoonists in the world of small press who are at his level. Ted Bowman, probably I would put up there with Steve.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I'm really not sure.
Yeah,
I
there's
mean,
not many that compare, and nobody is like them.
No.
That's true.
No.
Nobody,
No. Bowman is an entirely different type of cartoonist, but he's very unique, and he's extremely good.
yeah.
Steve is.
Steve is
I have no problem putting my creative work aside to do this project.
Well,
I mean, that's why you asked me what's coming up with Strange Times.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what's coming up with Strange Times.
Yeah.
This.
Yeah.
It's incredible reading it. And Larned, you talked about how his style has developed.
Yeah.
I was doing scans finally. I'm trying to get stuff out of the way and clear space so that I can do a whole batch of scans at once. And so I started digging in, and I got to issue 7, which is, I don't know. What issue is this? Yeah, here's 7. Does it have a date on it? It does. 1994. So I've got a 1994 edition. His style changed from issue 1 to now.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you're looking at constant evolution, not just of like the storytelling and the way in which he draws characters, the lines that he uses, it's so fascinating. And of course, Morty the dog looks the same through the whole thing. So you've got those content.
I can't find the exact panel, but here is Morty. But he called him Morty the pup in this. Yeah.
Morty the pup or Morty the mutt. Something like that. I saw that too. I saw
Yeah,
they
did
called
you?
him
Yeah,
something different.
Morty the pup. But see, like in this panel right here, you can see Morty, he drew him a little different there.
Yep.
And in the bottom panel over here, this
But
one.
that's Steve Willis. And I mean, that's his genius. And this was at the very beginning. This was at the very, he was already that good.
Yeah. It's amazing.
In those days. And now he's just so much better. He's just great.
And he's a storyteller. That's the thing. And it's kind of a stream of conscious storytelling technique that you just don't see everywhere. It's amazing.
And also, he has notes in the back of this.
Yes.
Which are very interesting.
Yes.
And
now the notes.
The other thing that he does, he describes, if I can find it here, each panel.
I had something else by him. I couldn't find it.
He'll tell you the panel and then he'll write about it. That's in here also.
And that information that's in the back is information that was from a blog that he once wrote.
Oh.
And he basically put his summaries and stuff in. I'm going to take that and put that in at the end of every issue.
You should, because like I said, he'll say page 29 and he'll explain what he was thinking about in page 29.
Yep. I'm thinking we're probably going to do probably 4 or 5 volumes.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to do them probably soft cover book type format, like a trade paperback. The first one, of course, is going to be the larger size. The other ones are going to be more standard digest, because that's how he did it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna do that, and then after each of the individual Cranium Frenzy issues, I'm going to put that back matter before starting the next issue. Yeah. It's great. It's going to be the comprehensive Cranium Frenzy.
Anybody that's a collector is going to have that.
Yeah.
This is small press history. This is great, and something that everybody should look forward to. It's really awesome that you're doing this.
Well,
working with Steve, one of the greatest small press creators of all time. I mean, seriously, he is. I really feel that way.
I do too.
Yes, I agree. I mean, he plays at a level that I can't even approach, and so if I can help him get his get his stuff out for the ages, all the better. I mean, we have.
I do a jam comic with him. You know, he's doing jam comics now.
Mm-hmm.
Cranium Frenzy is done, and it's going to be a jam comic. And I've done 2 of them with him. But you know what?
Oh, really?
I get to copy his style. I can draw legally, just like he draws.
you're good at
I can have fun doing that. Yeah, that is. In fact, I can show you. He sent me the originals of the one we did. And I could show it to you.
He's got all my originals, but I did a jam with him as well.
Yeah, that.
Oh, wow.
First page, that's what he did. That was his first page. And then I had to do the second page.
I can't wait to see
And that's
this.
my page. That's
nice.
Wow, it
He
looks
did the
very
next
much
one, and I
like your style.
It's fun to copy. And I told him that in a letter. I said, "This is great. I get to copy you legally. I love it."
And now he's done with Cranium Frenzy, and we got this one. We just got this one. I haven't read it yet. In search of the missing story.
Yeah, that's where this is in there. These are the originals of what's in there.
Yeah. Oh, is that right?
I don't think I have that one yet.
I see it here now. I see it.
He sent me 10 copies. If you need one, I will send you.
He only sent
No,
me one.
he'll send it along. He's been really good about sending them.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah, I've got one coming out. He said I'm in the next one. So.
Yeah.
But Larned, let me ask you.
Yes.
My feeling of doing a jam with Steve was like being a 3-year-old toddler, being handed a tennis racket and being kicked out onto the court to play tennis with like Jimmy Connors or John McEnroe.
Yeah.
And you're just holding on for dear life, hoping that you can bounce the ball back to him with enough force that you can give him something to send to you.
That is exactly the feeling you get. Yep.
Oh, my Lord.
Yep.
He takes stuff and he goes that way, and then he goes that way, and you're like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. Like the last one he gave me, all it is one panel. And I got to go from the one panel that he drew and do the rest of the panels.
Oh, no kidding.
It is so crazy that I'm going, what do I do?
Well, guys, I got to tell you, I feel so privileged to be able to help him on this particular Cranium Frenzy project. He said he might start it up again later, but he doesn't have any plans to. No. And so I said, this is the perfect time. You're done for now. Let's memorialize this, and then we'll move it along. One of the other weird things that's happened is I have a little bit of a relationship with the Rare Books Library at Columbia University. And they have apparently a really strong cartoonist section, small press underground collection there. And you bet she's getting hard copies. I mean, Steve's work is going to be on display.
It has to be in there. Yeah.
It just has to. And so I'm thrilled to be a part of that. I'm punching way above my weight class here, but
that's exciting news. Great news.
Well, and in between that, making a few videos.
I'm doing a jam with Steve also, just so you
know. Oh, are you?
Yes, I am. I'll hang out in a couple of weeks, I guess. But he sent me something, and I'm going to finish that and do it.
Yeah.
Steve, I had no idea. Yeah. So are you playing tennis with him as well?
Yeah, I'm sure.
He sent me something, and I'm going to finish it, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not in his league, but I'll do the best I can.
Yeah, that's with all of us. Yeah, right.
He said to me that he is so enjoying this experience because I think he was feeling like he was getting a little stale, and his way of kind of recharging the batteries creatively is to get the external stimulus that comes from you know, these types of collaborations.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Cranium Frenzy, it's gonna be a
That's gonna
thing.
be fantastic. Well, I
This
think
one,
we usually,
this one's you, Larned. Larned, this one is you.
yeah, I'm in there. These
Well,
are
bless
in
your
there.
heart.
These are the original.
Great.
These are the
I need to look at it
originals.
more closely.
Yeah, it's in
because
there.
I didn't notice I didn't notice the difference between your artwork and Steve's artwork because you did it so well.
That's what I was trying to
So
do. Yeah.
I'm very impressed.
See,
Okay.
I'll show you the
Larned,
other
Larned is a
two. This
great
was
talent,
his.
man.
This was his page he sent back to me, and
Yeah.
he's got
Yeah.
analog in there having to do with numbers.
No.
And then I sent him back this one.
It's
And
magnificent. It's really,
the punchline
okay. I can
is,
see the difference now that I'm looking hard, but
yeah.
perfect, perfect, perfect jam
And the
comic.
punchline is, and now
Great
you're going to
job.
log off.
But
Boom.
Log off
Yeah.
with the big log. Okay.
Well, you know what? We have been on for over an hour. So
No kidding.
I think we should wrap this up. What do you think?
whatever you wish. This has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on, guys.
Glad you came on. That's great. Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
A pleasure
for me.
always, Tom. Always great
Yeah.
to see you, my friend.
Yeah. So we're going to say goodnight to everybody, and we will see you in the next one, whenever that is. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when we have another episode. And anyway, good night for now.